Hello, good evening and welcome to Spotlight. My name is Nwong Falong. It's an honor to have you tune in and spend some time out of your evening with us on MX24GH, your home for fun, fearless and factual content. Now, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has dismissed one party member, Stephen Atubiga. They have also, they've dismissed Alote Jacobs, former chairman of the Central Region, and they have suspended Stephen Atubiga. These are the affected members. Now, there's been a press release signed by the General Secretary, Johnson Esiedu Nketia. He explained that the party's disciplinary committee found Mr. Jacobs guilty of allegations of misconduct and anti-party conduct brought against him. As to what exactly this means, he'll be joining us later to explain what the party is describing. Now, portions of the letter read as follows, and I quote, "The committee's report, which is herein attached for your attention, found you guilty of the said allegations of misconduct, anti-party conduct, and recommended, among other things, your immediate expulsion from the party. The Functional Executive Committee, acting in compliance of Article 48(1) of the NDC Constitution, has unanimously adopted the report and accepts fully its recommendation for your immediate expulsion from the party." Those are excerpts of the letter that was dispatched to Mr. Alote Jacobs. Now, it's not the first time Mr. Alote Jacobs has faced disciplinary action from the party. We know that in 2020, the NDC suspended him prior to this particular event. Now, the party suspended him for the same reasons, anti-party conduct, they claim. But Mr. Alote Jacobs has not been quiet. He has been responding to this letter and the dismissal. What does he have to say? He says before the letter came, he had left the party. So how do you dismiss a member of the party who has already left the party? That's quite an interesting question there. He also further described the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedu Nketia, and the FEC as living in a fantasy. We have no idea what that means. We're still trying to catch Mr. Alote Jacobs, and hopefully he can explain exactly what his words imply. The other members of the party who have also been affected, we know that Koku Anyido, who was also suspended from the party. We have the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress joining us shortly, Mr. Peter Otukono, to explain further the position of the party right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. My name is Nwong Falong. Thank you for staying with us over there. So I mentioned before we went on the break that there's another party member who has been suspended, and that's Stephen Atubiga. He was suspended in a letter from the same General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedu Nketia. The letter was dated Tuesday, March 23. Now, we're joined by the National Democratic Congress's Deputy General Secretary, Peter Otukono. He's going to explain further the position of the party. Hello, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining us and for giving us your time.
Thanks for having me.
It seems there have been like a sudden avalanche of disciplinary actions. Did you time it for all of them to happen, or they simply coincided?
Well, certainly, yeah, then there would be an avalanche of indiscipline, and perhaps that is why you are seeing this kind of response. As you may be aware, the National Democratic Congress is a party that allows free speech, that allows people to express their opinions. And express themselves in whichever way that they want. And indeed, our party has as its foundation defiance of positivity, what we call positive defiance. But we also have in our constitution what we describe an anti-party misconduct if one decides to say things that we think are inimical to the progress of the party. And for that matter, when one puts himself to such an action consistently over a long period of time, and we realize that there is no end in sight, we realize that all available options of seeking redress are being thrown to the dogs and are not being used, and the party employs every available measure to bring them, into order, and they refuse, then we have to employ the full regard to the Constitution. And that is what we have done in this case of the individuals involved in the various actions that we are taking. I'm sure you are taking note of Mr. Alote Jacob's expulsion from the party.
I did actually mention it earlier. There was a suspension in 2020, and now there's a dismissal. But are there details of exactly what he did wrong?
Yes, there are plethora were captured in the earlier petition, which was released last year. People, who were very livid about the kind of conduct he was expressing over, the media, the public pronouncement, the attack on party leaders, and so on and so forth, which we considered anti-party, brought some requests to the party, and based on that request, acting on Article 48, Clause 1, and Article 48H, Clause A and B, we decided to send him on suspension while he goes through the disciplinary process. He was supposed to appear before the disciplinary committee, where he appeared and admitted to committing those wrongs, but did not show remorse. Subsequently, after his appearance at the disciplinary committee, he continued on the street and was all over the place, engaging in worse forms of the act. So when the report was done by the disciplinary committee recommending his expulsion, it was no problem at all when the functional executive committee was considering the recommendations of the said report. With Mr. Atubiga, after the 2020 elections, he has engaged himself in a lot of, write-ups on social media and in the media and, follow-up commentaries. And we called him about 3 weeks ago. We summoned him to the functional executive committee, giving him the opportunity to seek redress. And we asked him questions. He admitted to error. He apologized profusely. And he was given a letter of reprimand, requesting of him to conduct himself in a particular manner. And most of which we asked him to do. He did a public apology, but other things he was supposed to do, he did not do. But we thought that, that was not a problem, hoping that he would do them. Only for us to hear that he has engaged on another spree of, the anti-party misconduct. And we thought that was a gross breach of the reprimand that we gave him. So we have forwarded this matter to the disciplinary committee, and the disciplinary committee will take further, action into its conduct meeting and do further investigations into the matter and make a determination which will be forwarded to the functional executive committee for consideration.
Mr. Otukono, isn't there a worry that these actions will gag members and prevent them from holding independent opinions?
Absolutely not. It will not gag members. I'm sure if you have known the NDC very well, we are very tolerant of, divergent opinions. But when the divergent opinions become destructive and inimical to the progress of the party, which is classified as anti-party conduct or cross-party indiscipline, then you would have to take action on them. Otherwise, you give the impetus for others to also engage in all manner of indisciplined acts. There is a reason why Article 47 and 48 was put in the party's constitution, so that we can deal with miscreants who decide to go rogue and misbehave.
You mentioned earlier that Atubiga had been reprimanded before the suspension. Did the case of Mr. Alote Jacobs also take the same pattern? Did you try to meet him, dialogue with him, understand his basis before the suspension?
Mr. Alote Jacobs even took a more deeper and a more in-depth, approach before that decision was taken. Mr. Alotejico started his acts of indiscipline from somewhere 2017, 2018. But, I mean, you realize that action on him took time. Party people were complaining all over, and they were crying wolf that the party was leaving Mr. Alotejico. Meanwhile, all manner of senior members from all the Council of Elders have engaged him privately, individually, and collectively. And still he was engaging in that act until some officers or some individuals of the party filed a petition against him. So, I mean, Mr. Alotejico was given ample, opportunity to redress his act of misconduct, but it didn't yield anything. It proved futile, and that was why we had to take him through the process. And finally, the process has ended. He is no more a part of the party. According to Article 48 of the party, he's supposed...
Is there a possibility to recall him if he shows remorse?
There's absolutely no possibility. Maybe after some time, based on the law, after some time, if he thinks that he has spared himself of all the indiscipline and he can be of good behavior, he would have to come under a bond and apply to be a member of the party, which I am sure will be considered.
Did his actions have no basis at all?
Can you come again?
Did his actions have no basis? You mentioned that he, embarked on anti-party conduct.
Absolutely no basis. Perhaps maybe you may want to call him and ask him for the basis.
Right. Do you worry that suspending key members will weaken the party, especially as you're preparing for 2024?
Absolutely not. We are not worried because as you may be aware, a stitch in time saves 9. So if you do the stitch early, then you will not have to solve several problems, because this issue of indiscipline is something that is very, very important. Any successful party that is able to run a successful campaign and secure a government and govern well is supposed to be guided by discipline. And if you do not have, a party that is disciplined, you cannot have a government that is disciplined. Nobody would want to vote for a party that is indisciplined. And I think that clearly that is what we are trying to do, so that we position ourselves to run the affairs of the nation from 2024.
But when there's a key member who has quite a following, especially in the central region, and he is dismissed, won't his followers be disgruntled with the party?
So that is the assumption that you would carry. But followers follow the party; they do not follow individuals. I don't think that there is anybody in the party who follows an individual. Mr. Alotejico, since he started going astray, if he has any follower who doesn't believe in the party, I'm sure that person would have gone with him already. So this is not the time to think about who would go with him.
Mr. Otukono, some of your members are unhappy about this. I'm sure you know that not all the members are in support. In fact, they think your disciplinary actions are biased towards certain individuals. There's an example they make of Sami Jemfi's comments against leadership that went unpunished, and they wonder why you are punishing these ones instead.
So clearly, that cannot be the case. If you have monitored very well, except that you have kept yourself to the confines of your studio, you would realize that the party people are in a very jubilant mood. They are highly excited about the dismissal of Mr. Alotejico. They think that it is long overdue and we should have done it long ago. I think that is better late than never, but it's an important point that we have come to. And this should serve as a deterrent to other officers of the party or other individuals in the party who are thinking or attempting to engage in that level of indiscipline or such levels of misconduct in their dealings.
Are there individuals that are on your radar for engaging in misconduct presently?
Well, as and when we receive petitions, we will deal with them. I'm sure you are aware that Mr. Kokwanido is on suspension, and his matter is before the disciplinary committee. We are waiting for the report. When it comes, we'll discuss that, and when we take a decision, we'll take on it.
In the case of Mr. Stephen Atubiga, how long is the suspension expected to last? And what can he do to quicken his callback?
According to Article 47 of the Constitution and Article 48 of the Constitution, a member who is put on suspension pending disciplinary action can be suspended for a minimum period of 6 months or a maximum period of 6 months, after which action should have been taken, after which he should have appeared before the disciplinary committee. If within that 6 months the disciplinary committee do not invite him, then the suspension becomes null and void. Then he resumes his normal position. But the disciplinary actions against individuals in that category have already started, and that means that we will be waiting for the report, and after the report, we will take our final decision on them. Whether there would be any punitive measures against them, or they would be given clemency.
So in the next 6 months, they're either going to be called back or dismissed altogether.
Exactly. It depends on the report of the disciplinary committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otukono. We're grateful for your time. That was Mr. Peter Otukono. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, and he was explaining to us the situation that the party finds itself in presently. He has debunked questions of possible gagging of some members of the party by these disciplinary actions that are being meted out. He says the NDC is a very tolerant party and has simply come to the hilt with dealing with some of these anti-party conduct that they claim against the members that are facing disciplinary action. We know that presently Koku Anyidoho is on suspension. We also know that Stephen Atubiga is on suspension. They are not completely gone, which means there's still a possibility for them to return to the party within 6 months. That's if they're called by the disciplinary committee to come before it to sort out the accusations against them. If they're not called, the suspension simply becomes void, and the person automatically goes back to being a party member. We also know that Mr. Alote Jacobs has been dismissed altogether. We heard from Mr. Otukono, who says there is no possibility of him being accepted back into the party. But never say never. We never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But as we speak, as of now, they have no intentions of calling him back to the party, because the allegations against him are long-standing and, as you heard from Mr. Otukono, have been existing since 2017. So that's quite a long history of anti-party behavior. We're hoping that the NDC will be able to amicably engage any party members that caught in some of these alleged misconduct, anti-party conduct. You are watching Spotlight on MX24. We are discussing the recent suspension and dismissal of some NDC party members. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spotlight. We're discussing recent dismissal and a suspension that have rocked the NDC. A suspension of Stephen Atubiga and a dismissal of former chairman of the party, Central Regional Chairman, Alote Jacobs. We've been trying to get him on the line. It's proving a bit impossible. But we just spoke to Peter Otukono. He's a Deputy General Secretary of the party, and he explained quite in detail the position of the party. We are also joined by Mr. Mohammed Abbas. He's a political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. My apologies. Mohammed Abbas is a political scientist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He just joined us on the line. Hello, Mr. Abbas.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us on Spotlight.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And good evening to you and to your listeners as well.
Good evening to you. I was asking the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Peter Otukono, who was on the line just before you joined us, if these suspensions and dismissals will not weaken the party, do you think these sudden suspensions and dismissals will weaken a political party?
Thank you very much for the question. They have the potential to do that. and it is conditional then.
Conditional
Depending
based on...
depending on how justified people see the suspension to be, or even depending on how they manage the after effect of that suspension. The first one is, hello?
Please proceed, we are listening.
Yeah, so on the first one, if people or majority of people within the party see the suspension as unjustified, then the party has a lot of work to do in order to actually ensure that they maintain the cohesion. Because at the end of the day, the strength of the party lies in the cohesion of the members, especially the core members within the party, the card-bearing members, and then the other members of the party. So this is what is at stake now. So that if it is seen to be highly unjustified, then it's going to be a very tall order for them in order to convince people and ensure the cohesion that is necessary to the party's strength. And then, as I said, the second one is even if it is justified, they should also know that there will also be some constituency. That is, I'm talking about the support base of these people who will also not be so happy. So that they also have to do some management, okay, of relationship between them and these members, and then assure them of why, okay, it is necessary to do these things. So when they do these things very well, definitely I think they should be able to move on, and that wouldn't have a serious effect on the party.
Right. Now, thank you for that submission. Let me just put you on hold there. We've been joined by Stephen Atubiga, who is the suspended, one of the member of the party who has just been suspended. Hello, Mr. Atubiga.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have you received the letter?
Yes, I have.
You have received it. You've been accused of a few infractions by your party. One of which is making disparaging remarks against some members of the party, including Joshua Alabi. Are these accusations true?
The leadership of the party are not above criticism.
Right.
Nobody is above criticism. It is the party as a party that when you criticize the party, no individual is above criticism. I can criticize anybody that I want, but not the party. If you are voted, if you are an office holder, okay, and you don't do what you're supposed to, have every right to criticize you constructively. But you may call it derogatory or whatever you may call it. But I do it without no malice. I speak in the interest of the party. But to be very nice, if the party sits back and appreciate why they are getting internal criticism, so that they sit up. So that they will sit up.
Do you intend to appeal your suspension?
Oh, since I have an opportunity to go and meet the disciplinary committee, definitely, why not? I'll go and meet the disciplinary committee and tender in my case.
Right. Are these actions something you presently are remorseful about?
Oh, there's nothing to be remorseful about because the truth is only one. And when you stand by the truth shall always set you free, not immediately at a later date. If I'm holding the campaign manager, they shall be responsible for being incompetent, not able to collate the results well, not collating the results very well for us to lose. If they call it a different that they want, fine, they do whatever they want to do. You know, power rotates. Power is not a permanent, political power is not permanent. It's not like marriage for better, for worse. So they can use the power to do whatever they want to do. But I will go around and tell the voters that my story.
When you say you go around and tell the voters your story, does this mean that you think your suspension will affect the following that you bring to the party?
Yes. I bring no less than 50,000 votes. And I'll go around every constituency and tell the story to the delegates and the party hierarchy over there, what is going on in Accra, so that when they come around for their votes, they hold them responsible.
But when you explain to them, will you still encourage them to vote for the party, regardless of the issues that you're having with them?
They should vote for the party, but some leadership of the party must go.
Okay. You think some of the leadership, yes. So you're thinking your criticism is separate from the party because you think it's against specific individuals?
The party needs some new drivers to be able to take up their different destinations. You can't have the same people who won't get different results. We need different people to give us different results.
Do you intend to apologize to Honorable Joshua Alabi?
I only intend to, if anything that has brought the party to distribute about Joshua Alabi, I don't think I should, unless he puts it in writing or should tell me what he thinks that is called personal, then I'll apologize. But if it is criticizing him as his office for not doing his work, I don't think I owe him an apology. And I stand by what is my conviction. You
stand by everything, I mean, you said prior to this?
At this moment, they have only put the caveat of at the constitution. So they have not put specific asset ABC. They are referring to publication. They've not been able to tell me, is this complicated, and I put constitution. So are you getting me?
Yes, I am getting you. Listen,
so that is all I'm trying to say. Maybe at the disciplinary committee, they'll bring that one out, and then I'll be able to defend that one.
There are some concerns by your party members that these disciplinary actions will affect independent thought.
Very true, and that is why I'm questioning the national chairman. You are national chairman of the party. Sacking people, suspending people is not the result. There's a way of managing people. If you have 6 million Ghanaians following the party, everybody will have a different mindset and a different way of looking at things. And that is where the speciality comes in managing others, especially knowing the loyalty and the years that others have been in the party. So when they speak, they are only speaking in the interest of the party without no malice.
Do you think there should have been a different approach instead of a suspension?
Yes, they should have called me. They should have invited me and my brother. We told you you hit a car with a boat, and we told you to be careful on the road. You've got to hit a human being again. Then I can tell them that these are the circumstances that I hit this human being. I'm sorry, next time I'll be careful on this road. That doesn't mean that I will not hit a chicken on the road. Every job has its hazard. Once it is in the interest of the party, they have to appreciate it.
We spoke to Mr. Peter Otukono earlier, and he was of the opinion that they had engaged you earlier, but you continued to
Otukono is a hypocrite. They put it on record that he's the biggest hypocrite I've known in the party. And he doesn't have the right to be a general secretary or to be a member of that sect. I said it.
Are you worried?
When I appeared before FEC, yes, the chairman was speaking, others were. They were sitting on the other side, and there are 4 or 5 people speaking at the same time. How can you respond to all of it? The chairman should take control. If Mr. A speaks, you respond. But you have 4 or 5 people, how do you respond? At the end of the day, I know it's family matter, and I leave and they want to. No problem. They'll come and meet us for their vote.
Do you think the actions are biased because there have been some...
Not only biased and selective and unconstitutional. Alabi is a nobody in the party. He's an ordinary member like me. The party constitution protects me and him.
When you say selective action, what exactly do you mean?
I said the constitution protects myself and Alabi as a member of the party.
Okay.
Alabi membership of the party doesn't supersede mine.
These issues you're having with the party, aren't you worried that it will affect your political aspirations within the party? Oh,
if I can decide to quit the party today and come and join the party again down the line and apply, they can suspend me and down the line. So for now, you can take me out of the membership on paper, but you cannot take the party from me. You cannot take the party out of my blood. You cannot take, and I'm not ready to destroy my party or to. I won't do that. Any decision that they have the power, they think they can. I don't need any sympathy. In future, I'm only 46 years. It is going to take me a certain number of years to be in a position that I don't have a problem with. After all, the party has never done anything for me. I've never gained anything to be proud the privilege of contesting. I've never gone to anybody that gives me ABC in the party. So what do I have to lose? If you take a blind man glasses, he's not taking his vision away.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stephen Atubiga. He's a member of the National Democratic Congress, and he has just been suspended by the party. We heard from the Deputy General Secretary of the party earlier explaining the position of the party, Mr. Otukono. Mr. Stephen Atubiga, of course, does not agree with this action from the party. He believes there could have been a different approach, and he thinks some of the leadership are not above reproach, and he deserves a right to be able to independently criticize actions that he does not agree with from some members of the party. We still have Mohammed Abbas. He's a political scientist from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, thank you so much for staying with us. You heard Mr. Tubiga there. He believes that he should be allowed to criticize as he so pleases, just as any member of the party should be allowed to. Is this something you agree with?
I totally agree. You see, when organizations and members of organizations and even activities and every aspect of the organization, be it structures and procedures, are not subjected to critiquing and examination, serious examination, and of course, some deficiencies or whatever it is brought out clearly, there's no way the organization can grow and become strong. The only way the organization can grow and become strong is when all of these things are allowed, critiquing and examining and seeing ways by which they can improve that organization. And I think that has been our biggest problem with all our organizations in this country, I mean, as an underdeveloped country, including our political party. So we should see all of these things that are happening as a symptom. It's a symptom of this thing that is not allowed, which is necessary, because you're dealing with human institutions, which must be allowed to grow, institutional growth. Okay, so it's a symptom. What we are seeing now, people talking, and then all of these things happening, it's a symptom of that. And we must make room and space for that critiquing. And then, of course, there must be decorum in how it is done, because we wouldn't allow chaos, things just being done anyhow simply because you are allowed to critique, okay? But when we create space for it, that is when we get the opportunity to direct these actions, okay, and allow them to be expressed in a manner that is healthy to the growth of the party. So against that background, I think it's unfortunate we are seeing these suspensions and sacking, and like he said, and you also mentioned it, not resorting to other alternative means, okay, of trying to see whether you can turn these things around to even become an asset to the party and unite and increase the cohesion and the strength of the party. So yes, there's a problem here in the way the parties and the party leadership are actually managing the affairs of the party.
Mr. Abbas,
yes.
What if these criticisms, I mean, although you are allowed to independently criticize, what if they taint the reputation of the party in the eyes of followers, in the eyes of the opposition? Doesn't the executive have the right to crack the whip on this? That
is what I'm saying. You see, first, you must allow space for it. When you allow space for it, then you begin to direct, they ensure some decorum. When we say criticism, it's not against personalities. It's critiquing their utterances and their actions, which is good. So we must separate personalities from their utterances and their actions. So, for example, if a member of a party, no matter who he is, has made certain utterances that doesn't augur well for the party, shouldn't anybody address that and critique that utterances? If any member engage in certain action, shouldn't somebody who sees it differently critique that action? You see, that is the problem. So let's first of all separate the actions and the utterances from the personality. And when we attack the actions and we attack the utterances by way of critiquing, it doesn't damage any person's reputation, because in any case, you demonstrated that action. You altered those things. So if there is something to be damage your reputation, it's not the critiquing of it. It's what you put out there for people to see. So I think that is it. If we understand it from that perspective and create room for it and let people know that you don't have to attack personalities. You have the right to criticize, but this is how you go about it. Single out the action, articulate them, what you find wrong with them. You can talk about it. And the party must even create room within the party for such things to be expressed okay, so that, yes, it is handled in a better way. But we need that space. That space doesn't exist in our political parties, and I think it is time for it. All of these things that are happening is signaling that, yes, that is what we need now, and do it well in order to strengthen the party so that some few people will not be up there and be suppressing everybody, thinking they are the only people who can think and talk for the party.
So you think that there should have been a different approach to this?
Definitely. You see, I always say, when there's a problem, okay, you go the higher way. You go the way that you don't throw everything away, because there's something good about these people also that you need. So you don't throw everything away. So you try the higher way and see, which has to do with, you see, politics is about disagreement. In fact, that is the starting point of politics. We should all understand this. If we all agree, you and me, everybody as human beings, we agree, there wouldn't be politics. Okay? So politics, the starting point is disagreement. And then we start to bridge, this disagreement, this gap. That is where the negotiation comes in. And then from the negotiations, we move to consensus building. Okay, so that is it. So yes, there are disagreements. So based on the disagreement, somebody expressed a view you don't like about someone, and then the action you take is to just suspend or sack the person. No, let's take the negotiation, the management, the dialogue, and exhaust all such avenues. In fact, go the extra mile, because you want to, even if the person who is fat is the only person leaving the party, you've lost something. Because it takes such one people to give you about 6 million people to vote for you. So don't underestimate even a single person. So you do everything to keep that person until it is beyond, the party. You have exhausted and done almost everything. Then now you can let go. Okay, but I don't think that is what we normally see. We easily resort to the last method, which is what we have seen in dealing with our problem, which also shows how autocratic and an attempt to all silence and suppress everyone. I heard you mention something about independent,
independent opinions,
or expression, etc. And that is what, if we are not careful, that is where we are leading to when we don't do things very clearly and very well.
But you see, Mr. Abbas, the party explains, as we heard from Mr. Peter Otukono earlier, that they had tried dialogue with Stephen Atubiga, for example, before the suspension. In fact, let me read some portions of the letter. They mentioned that in recent publications on social media, and I'm quoting the letter, attributed to you on March 8th, March 12th, and March 14, among others, denigrating the party and individuals in the party, indicate that you are not only in breach of your own promises and hence not reliable, but you are further denting the image of the party, contrary to Article 47(1)(a) and (b) of the party's constitution. These are some of the things the party is accusing him of. So they say there was a lengthy discussion with him, and during the discussion, he agreed to recant some of these things. He apologized for them profusely. And so they did not expect him to go back to those comments. So he also agreed to write officially on his Facebook wall, retracting the earlier writings, and to write officially to Honorable Joshua Labi, apologizing personally to him, and to refrain from any such defamatory comments in the future. Now, clearly, after that, his recent publications, the first infraction was in February, and the most recent ones were in March, March 14, March 12, March 16. Now, the party claims that his failure to write a letter of apology to Honorable Joshua Labi was him essentially proving to be unreliable and going back on his word to them. And at the end of its deliberations, they made a decision after all these events that, one, with immediate effect, his membership of the party, the NDC, is suspended. Two, that the matter be referred to the party's disciplinary committee for further action. And so they sent him the letter of suspension, urging him to take note of that. Don't you think in this case there was enough deliberation between the party and him?
There was some deliberation.
Some
I wouldn't
deliberation.
say that is enough.
Was enough. Okay.
You and me, for example, were not are not privy to
You
that
and I were not
deliberation.
there.
But the result is indicating that clearly whatever transpired over there wasn't really something to have to resolve the problem. Other than that,
It seems there was no agreement also, because when we spoke to Mr. Tubiga just now, he didn't seem to agree in any way with what Mr. Otukono had explained to us. So clearly there was no real agreement between the two parties.
There wasn't any real agreement. It could be this. What I am aware of mostly in such situation, because I follow such situation a lot, people call you there to let you know that you are wrong, not to hear you and give you room to also express whatever it is that is bothering you, just to let you know that you are wrong, and then you have to go and do this and that. And you're not even allowed to express yourself so that they listen and know what really, because you see, when things happen like that, there are remote reasons, okay, causes. You see, we always focus on symptoms and not the causative factors. But the causative factors, we will get to them when we explore deeper and allow people to come out. What exactly is your problem? Forget about what he has done, etc. There is something that has led to that. So if you explore deeper, you will get to that thing. And once you get to that thing, then really you are now resolving the issue. But you bring somebody and you talk to him, you deliberate, you let him know that he's wrong, what he has done, he shouldn't have done no matter what, so he should go and do this. He won't argue with you over there. I mean, in front of you, knowing how you are honest. So he would also accept, but only to go out and you see nothing has been resolved. It's recurring again. So there's a problem there within that they have to look at.
In the case of Mr. Alote Jacobs, do you think an outright dismissal should be reversed and further dialogue explored?
And then, in fact, this dismissal and suspensions, etc., we also have to take a second look at it again. Because, you see, if you look at them, what does it really mean to say that you have dismissed somebody from a party, or you have even suspended him? It's just that these people happen to be very active members of the party at the top there. That's why you could say that. But somebody like me, where I stand, if I call myself a member of the NDC and a sympathizer and follow some of their distance, how do you suspend me out of the party? Or sack me, dismiss me out of the party? So normally when they say that, it means they are not going to give you room within the party as far as the top activities are concerned and position. That is all that they mean. But you can't really sack anybody out of a party, because the membership of the party is voluntary. People decide. I think he made a statement that you can sack him, but the party is in him.
His
You
blood,
can't take the party out of him.
Yeah.
If I accept as a member of a party, it's a mental thing. It's in my mind. I accepted it, unless I change my mind that no, I'm now belong to MPP or any other party. So you can't take that out of the person. You're only saying that yes, we will not work with you at that top hierarchy, or it will have nothing to do with you as far as the executive is concerned. So we'll have to look at that again, and especially using that as a whip, a big whip or cage to check everybody to be in line. I think that is dangerous for our democracy, and it's also dangerous for political party development and growth.
Mr. Abbas, do these internal rumblings signal a deeper problem?
I told you it's a symptom. And symptoms of a
bigger disease.
Problem. You see, we should separate what we are seeing now from the problem itself. There are deeper underlying problems, and these can be traced as far back as to even the founder of the party, when he was no longer, I should say, eligible to be a flag bearer again. That was where all of these things started. Okay, and it has never been resolved. It's always putting the problems under the carpet, sweeping them under the carpet, and let's move on. Because we all knew, even the founder and some key members of the party, what happened from during Atamil's time, and then it was transferred to Mahama, and then that is the same thing. When Mahama lost the election, I think the 2016 election, he made a very profound statement, which I thought they will look at and see how to analyze it and use it to address the problems of the party. He made it clear that the horse is wounded. And by the horse, he was referring to the political party, the NDC party. So they need time to heal it before they can, of course, send it to battle again, etc. But I have observed the NDC ways and etc. I've never seen that time that they made to really heal and amend, okay, the challenges that the party faced. And I think this is what we are witnessing now, and we are hearing and seeing all this suspension. We also recently, Sami Jeffrey's comment and attack of the speaker and the minority and the chief whip, etc. We saw all of these. All of these things are symptoms of a deeper problem.
So you're saying the party needs to do some housekeeping then?
In fact, that is the right word. First, keep your house in order. First, that is the first principle. In everything, keep your house in order. So they need to do that. House cleaning and house management and whatever you call it, but it has to be internal to ensure. And the way they do that is they know very well that there are differences there. And some people are very vocal in their differences. Some people are very expressive. So this is the time to call for everybody to come out with their grievances. Let it be out. Okay? Create a platform. You're not going to victimize anybody, hold anybody, but let it come out clearly. And once it comes out, then now you know what you are dealing with. You know the ugly thing that is in front of you that must be dealt with to clean the house. If you are cleaning the house, what do? You go to every corner of...
Interesting comments there from Mr.
Expected things but you bring all of them out first. Before now, you know what you send back into the room or into the house. And it's the same thing here that they need to do. Bring out all the debt or everything. Everybody should bring it. And then afterwards, you decide and sit down and see how to deal with it objectively in the interest of the party so that they can move on in strength.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Abbas. Mr. Mohammed Abbas is a political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and he was giving us that angle on the issues between the suspended and dismissed member of the National Democratic Congress and the National Democratic Congress itself. I think his key focus is the fact that the NDC needs to do some internal management and cleaning and ensure that there is more cohesion between members of the party going forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Abbas, and thank you to you at home for staying with us. I'm sure you have your own opinions. If you do, please join us on social media. Let us hear from you concerning this specific subject. Mr. Aluti Jacobs, former Central Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, has been dismissed. Mr. Stephen Atubiga has been suspended. What do you think about these recent developments? We are on social media at MX24GH. Let us know what your opinion is. My name is Nwang Falon. Thank you for staying with us. See you again same time tomorrow, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Good evening.